Christopher Nolan's upcoming biopic titled Oppenheimer stars a beautiful yet stressed Cillian Murphy as the lead. They've given us a trailer and a closer look at different characters and scenes of the movie. Hardcore Nolan fans are thriving right now. How does the Peaky Blinders actor look in this new film? And did the director really make his own atomic bomb as a prop during shooting? Let's find out in this video. First up, Murphy's look in the movie. The Irish actor usually has the same haircut in every movie he's been in. Inception, Red Eye, and In Time have him with that gorgeously cut hair that perfectly complements his bone structure. And then we have him in Peaky Blinders, the reason every other guy has that god-awful fade. This time, the graying hair and wrinkles on his face make him look like an extra in L.M. Klimov's Come and See. One of the images that were released was of him pinned against a boulder in a desert, with his character's wife Katherine Oppenheimer, played by Emily Blunt, holding his shoulders. With Nolan's track record, this is either a flashback of Oppenheimer's dead wife or a scene that will lead to her death. The guy just loves killing off his protagonist's wives. The Peaky Blinders actor has this one pose in almost every picture, where he's standing with both arms on his hips. This isn't the only film we've seen him standing like that, so this is just Cillian being himself. Other images include Murphy in the center of what looks like a hearing or trial, probably regarding his atomic bomb. The crowd of people behind him appears to be cheering his name, but there's only so much we can depict from stills. The trailer, however, is something we can talk about for hours. Coming up with the new trailer. As if Argentina winning the World Cup wasn't enough to keep you up. Moments after the closing ceremony, Universal Pictures released a full-length trailer of the film and fans went berserk. The 2-minute-long clip starts with a fiery explosion, which gives the viewer the subtle impression that this movie is about an atomic bomb. Not the best of hints by the director, but don't worry because it gets better. Some very trippy transitions of what looks like the stuff that goes on within an atom fill the screen after every glimpse of the movie, but we still don't get enough detail of what's actually going on. The only characters that stand out are Robert Oppenheimer, played by Cillian Murphy, and Lewis Strauss, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, portrayed by Robert Downey Jr. Looks like the Iron Man actor finally got a gig as good as being the lead of the Avengers. Out of the enormous cast, we only get a small look at Jack Quaid and Jason Clarke, both of whom are unnamed in the credits for now. A surprising addition to the film, Josh Peck, also got a millisecond of screen time in the trailer. But the unexpected cast members don't stop there. Why don't we look at all the white men in the next film? Following up with the cast of Oppenheimer. Along with Murphy, Downey, and Peck, the upcoming project by Nolan contains an all-star cast so pale you'd think this is a movie about vampires. Florence Pugh will be portraying Jean Tadlock, Robert's mistress. Well, that's what Wikipedia says. We don't want to spoil the movie too much. And if you're one of us who doesn't want the ending ruined, please don't Google any of these people's names. This is a biopic after all. Matt Damon is set to play Leslie Groves, an engineer who oversaw the Manhattan Project. Benny Safdie was the lucky brother who got the role of Edward Teller, while Ben Affleck and Casey Affleck are two siblings who'll star in the film. Devon Bostick from Okja and A Diary of a Wimpy Kid joins the ensemble, along with Dane DeHaan, Gary Oldman, Alex Wolff, Matthias Schweighöfer, and many more. With a budget of just $100 million, we're surprised Nolan got this many A-listers on board. Then again, who'd miss an opportunity to star in a film by one of the best directors in cinematic history? Though many of these names will feel like short cameos with very minor roles, Cillian will be there on screen from start to finish. The actor also had a thing or two to say about his role, so let's get into that. Let's talk about how the lead actor felt. The director and his protege have a history together in multiple films in the past. Murphy played Scarecrow in Batman Begins, Fisher in Inception, and a shivering soldier in Dunkirk. Yes, he's credited as a shivering soldier in the movie. There's nothing wrong with that. If you've seen these movies, you may notice that the Thomas Shelby actor has always been a supporting character or an antagonist. Oppenheimer will be the first time for him to put on the big boy shoes and be in front and center for over 120 minutes. Murphy mentioned it in one of his interviews too, saying it was both shocking and thrilling for him. He added how this difficult task is challenging and very demanding, but reassures himself saying he's in good hands. Those hands are the ones holding that IMAX camera on set. Again, Nolan is one of the greatest directors of all time, so we're sure the entire cast doesn't feel nervous or out of place in between all of this. But the whole comforting environment is kind of the vibe we get off of his movies because he's one of those filmmakers who has a certain style whenever he's crafting his work. The man shows up on set wearing a suit every day. You've gotta give him props for that. Speaking of props, do you know the lengths Nolan will go through for the perfect execution of a scene? Up next, was an actual bomb used on set? Short answer, no. Unfortunately, he didn't detonate a bomb for his movie. But let's move on to that section of this video, shall we? First and foremost, what did he use during filming? The Dark Knight director is known for going the extra mile whenever he's committed to a scene. For Oppenheimer, Nolan recreated the Trinity test, which was the first ever detonation of a nuclear weapon, which took place at 5:29 a.m. on the 16th of July 1945. He didn't want to use computer-generated imagery for the scene because his films are known to be as grounded and realistic as possible. The visionary found this task very challenging and required the assistance of his visual effects supervisor, Andrew Jackson. Jackson has previously worked with Nolan on Dunkirk and Tenet, both films that contain so many explosions you'd think you're watching something Michael Bay made. The director and supervisor worked hard and thought of ways they could execute this scene while balancing both quantum dynamics and quantum physics. Who knew this man was such a nerd? The team decided to use the same location as the original test too, where the harsh weather conditions of New Mexico made the difficult task even more challenging. What does the end product look like? We'll have to wait and see. For now, all we can do is overanalyze how over-the-top scenes like these have been tackled by the visionary in his previous films, following up with times where Nolan went overboard with his scenes. Practical effects are a big deal to the filmmaker. If you're a fan of his work, you may have noticed that there's hardly any CGI used. You won't be seeing superpowers or taking inanimate objects in his movies because the guy enjoys doing his job the old-fashioned way. What's the old-fashioned way, you ask? For starters, it's planting 500 acres of corn just to film the scenes in Interstellar. Turns out, Nolan has a personal vendetta against green screens. He played it smart and sold the entire plot and used the profit for the movie's budget. The old-fashioned way also involves blowing up a Boeing 757 for one scene in his recent film Tenet. We just know that the cleanup crew absolutely hates their boss. The Dark Knight gets its praise for the lack of CGI and the abundance of practical effects. Real-life trucks were being thrown here and there and bursting into flames behind the scenes of this movie. No wonder comic book fans adore this version of Batman. Funny thing is, we were about to mention how Nolan wouldn't be doing a superhero film anytime soon because how he never uses CGI, but turns out he already completed that quest back in 2005. Exploding cars and playing live-action Farmville is just the icing on this iconic director's work. Now that he's checked an atom bomb off his bucket list, what else would he plan on blowing up next? Lastly, some official details of the release. We've covered the cast and plot of the film, right? The cast includes Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., and more Caucasian men that look like they hit the randomize button when creating them in the Nolan casting factory. Alright, we should address the elephant in the room. The reason we're throwing massive shade at the ensemble is that a lot of fans have picked up on the fact that almost every film of his has a white-only cast and is usually full of men. 2022 is over. What happened to diversity? In the end, everyone decides to choose style over substance because boy, are his films extraordinary. Anyway, Oppenheimer will be about the atomic bomb, which you've probably gathered by now. With his previous film in mind, we're in for a wild ride. When it comes to that sweet music that echoes in the theaters, Hans Zimmer steps aside and gives way to Ludwig Göransson, and after listening to that score when the name Christopher Nolan appeared on screen, let's just say there's going to be a lot of goosebumps. The film will be released on the 21st of July 2023. This is the same date another highly anticipated movie will be released. Yes, we mean Greta Gerwig's live-action Barbie, of course. With that 2001 A Space Odyssey gag in the trailer, it looks like Oppenheimer will have tough competition at the box office. So many iconic movies are coming our way, you better start saving up for all those tickets. And that's the end of the video. What will you be watching in the cinemas next year? Barbie or Oppenheimer? This battle surely is exciting to see. Let us know in the comments below. As always, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to see more of our content, and we'll see you in the next one.